Hello and welcome to the Tech Guy Off the Radio pre-show. This is your host Pete, the Tech Guy, and we're here for the 5 minutes before the show that we always do before we get started. You'll notice today that I'm a little bit slower than I normally am. I've actually been sick in bed for 3 days. This is probably the most strenuous thing I've done in the last since Monday. I missed work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I started feeling a little bit sick on Tuesday, and in pre-COVID days, I would have just shown up at work. I would have been at work today. Well, not today because this would have been my day off. But I would have just taken some Dayquil or something and gone to work. But under the protocols at my place of employment, if you have anything resembling cold symptoms, you don't come into work. And when that continued for the second day, I arranged for a COVID test. I actually just got the results of the COVID test back a few hours ago. I'm negative. But that, in a way, that's moot because my wife, as a nurse, has to get a COVID test every 2 weeks. So I'm not allowed back into work. So theoretically, I could go back to work, but because my wife has just had a COVID test, I am not allowed to return to work until her test comes back negative. So I've already missed 3 days, and because of previous COVID quarantines, I have no sick time left. So it's going to be expensive, but that's it's the way things happen to be this year. So deal with it. There's been a lot worse things. There's a lot worse things to deal with in life. So there's not a whole lot of point complaining about it. So don't be surprised if this week's show is a little bit more subdued and maybe a little bit shorter than what you're used to, because I don't know how much I have in me, frankly. I just don't know how much I have in me. And because I don't know how much I have in me, I can't vouch for me being up to doing an hour and a half or an hour and a quarter. By the way, I'm going to turn on a light. I noticed that the video was a little bit grainy, and I think it's because of lack of light. I've been keeping the light off because I've not been well. Also, on a unrelated note, I've just updated the drivers on the camera, the webcam. So if you notice a difference in the webcam, if you think it's looking better or looking worse, let me know in comments. That way I will have an idea if the driver update was worthwhile. Again, I do apologize for my state. I would have just not done it, but you don't want to just not do it with notice. To say to people expecting you. You don't want to just not show up, even though we don't have a huge audience. But we've been building, and we do our best to try and build the audience. So, if you're going to try and build an audience, you have to show up. Half of the game in life is showing up. And sometimes you show up when things are going good, and sometimes you show up when things are not going so good. And that's just the way things are. I mean, you can't really get around that. So we're about 1 minute before the start of the actual show. I'll try and ramp it up a little bit, but again, I have no guarantee that we're going to go very long today because, as I said, this is the under the weather edition. I am definitely not myself, and hopefully we'll be able to do something worthwhile here today, and we'll do our best to do something worthwhile. I don't see a big audience so far, but that's all right. Even if it's just one person, we're going to do our best. And it's now 3:00, which means it is officially time for the Tech Guy Off the Radio live stream podcast. I am your host, Pete the Tech Guy, half a door, Doctor Who scarf, and such will travel. And as I've been saying to the people already here, I do apologize if we're a little shorter this week because I have been under the weather. I've been sick in bed for the last 3 days. But sicker than that is the situation of the Joe Biden campaign. And let's jump right in. and start with the vice presidential debate. Now, one of the few advantages of being sick in bed is that instead of being at work on debate night, I was actually able to watch the debate. And it was interesting to watch Mike Pence in the debate versus Donald Trump because they are two extremely different people. Mike Pence, of course, has been a politician for a very long time. He's a very measured person. He's not an exciting person in terms of in terms of women, in terms of drinking, in terms of all that stuff. In fact, Mike Pence has been teased because he has a reputation of, I will not be at an event with a woman without my wife there. And people were calling him, attacking him as a prude, attacking him as this, that, or the other thing. Because, oh, yeah, that's ridiculous. Why would you do such a thing? And, of course, Donald Trump, 3 wives, the questions about Stormy Daniels and so forth there's nobody, that's just not Donald Trump. Now, in addition to that, you have Mike Pence, again, a lifetime politician, Trump, a lifetime businessman, Trump bombastic, Pence calm and quiet. So it's a very good contrast. And in one respect, it makes a very good marriage in terms of politics because you have the calm political person versus the bombastic non-political person. Well, Pence, people thought that he was not going to have a good debate in several ways. So the left seemed to think that Kamala Harris, as a former prosecutor, was going to tear him to pieces. And I think it's because they've watched what was that movie with Jack Nicholson? A Few Good Men, too many times, where Tom Cruise's character, the first time in his courtroom, turns out to be a great cross-examiner and prosecutor. Well, apparently, Kamala Harris, it's a little bit different. When she's getting her plea bargains, and she came across as ignorant. She repeated several things that had already been debunked by even the mainstream media. But most important, the biggest tell, and Pence was calmly answering, although for God's sakes, I cannot understand. Somebody explain to me why neither Mike Pence nor Donald Trump in their debates have mentioned the peace deals with Israel. Somebody explain this to me. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out why they're not bringing this up. This is a big, big, big win. And they're just ignoring it. Why would you ignore that? It's a great achievement. But they never bring it up. I don't understand that. But Pence, calm, measured, called out Harris. And the real fun thing has been the mansplaining. He's been mansplaining. Now, we men, when women do that to us, we call it nagging. Just for those of you who are not, we refer to that as nagging. Like, you didn't get the trash. Yeah, well, I know we didn't get the trash. I'll get the trash. You did not get it. We know. It's like I said, it's called nagging as far as we men are concerned. But what I found interesting is something because it reminded me of something that happened a while back. And this was a very long time, I guess 12 or 13 years ago. I remember there was a woman who was running for, I'm not talking about Martha Coakley. This is before Martha Coakley. This is back in the 15, 16 years ago. There was a woman who was running for governor. And there had been this debate, and she had been roughed up pretty bad, the debate. And people were talking about how terrible it was that the guy had roughed her up and so forth in the debate. And I called into this show, and I think it was the Jim and Marjorie show at the time. And I was just, why are we talking like this? I thought that women were as good as men. I thought women were strong as men. I thought women were equal as men. People are going to be governor. This person's supposed to be a person running a state. And we're worried about that she might have her feelings hurt or something like that. And my argument was, if you're going to be tough enough to be the executive in charge of a state, you have to be able to take it. Because, your opponents, the people you're going to be going up against, are not going to be playing according to Hoyle. They're just not. And to act like, oh my God, oh, how terrible they act this way. I mean, that just shows weakness. I mean, you can have equality, or either women are equal or they're not. Either women are as good as men or they're not. Now, my argument has always been on this subject that women are different from men. Doesn't mean they're better than men. It doesn't mean they're worse than men. It means they're different. And all women are not the same, and women bring different qualities. Women have different qualities than men. And some of these qualities are intrinsic, some of them are evolutionary, and so forth. And there are some women I would not want to go toe-to-toe with in a fight. And there are some men that I'd have no problem being in a fight with. But the point is that if you're going to fight in the political arena, if you're a woman and you intend to fight in the political arena, you don't be hiding behind your skirts, so to speak. It's like the line from the movie Inherit the Wind. You can have the right to vote, but you lose the ability to hide behind your petticoat. And that's pretty much it. You have people who are trying to treat Kamala Harris as this weak, the body of a weak and fragile woman. It's like the old speech from Blackadder and the Queen from Blackadder. It's just stupid. This person wants to be one heartbeat away from leading the free world. And with the Nancy Pelosi stuff about the 25th Amendment, and yeah, this is partially targeted toward Trump, but it's rarely targeted towards Biden because they could never get a Kamala Harris as president otherwise. This is all about, you're going to be a heartbeat away, and you're going to be running away because, oh, this person talked to me a little. Give me a break. Give me a break. The person's weak. Yeah, Juliet notes that women in politics need to grow a pair. I don't think they so much need to grow a pair as they have to be willing to. They have to be willing to fight. Either you are good enough, or you are not. Either you are capable of competing against a man in politics, or you are not. Now, if you believe you aren't, that's fine. If you can, that's fine. But if you're not, I don't want you to be whining because you don't get an advantage. You don't get the advantage because the world is Putin. Do you think Putin is going to give Kamala Harris an advantage? Do you think President Z is going to give Kamala Harris consider, oh, this is a woman, so we won't press our advantage against the United States because this is a woman. Oh, well, we're not going to. I'm Vladimir Putin. I am a gentleman. No, I'm not. You think Islamic terrorists are going to care that it's a woman? They'll be even more outraged. So it's a joke. And the fact that we have a media who is saying this, I mean, the same media who is saying Kamala Harris is a strong and competent woman who is certainly capable of being commander-in-chief and leader of the free world, is also saying Kamala Harris did bad in the debate because her opponent was mansplaining, which was bad and evil. Seriously? You're going to sell that to the American people. Now, granted, there's an old saying that you will not go broke underestimating the intelligence of the American voter or people in general. But I'm sorry, people aren't going to fall for that. They're just plain not. So that's why I think the Presidential Commission rushed very quickly to say, oh, well, we're going to change this debate to virtual. Because already we've seen Trump mop the floor with Biden. And we've seen now Pence mop the floor with Harris. They don't want any more debates. Every time you have these guys in a situation like this, it becomes more and more dangerous. More and more dangerous. Because they can't hold their own. If they can't hold their own in a debate against Donald Trump or Mike Pence, they're certainly not going to be able to hold their own leading the free world. Now, granted that as Democrats, they will be more interested in helping our enemies than supporting our friends. So maybe they won't have to fight as much in terms of our enemies. But still, you don't want a person like that in charge. You just plain don't. And I have to laugh about the questions concerning packing the Supreme Court. Joe Biden will not answer the question on if he will pack the Supreme Court. And Kamala Harris will not answer a question on will we pack the Supreme Court. And yes, I'm going to take a cough drop because my throat is sore. So, and people are also, well, what do they really believe on packing the Supreme Court? Well, for the sake of all of you who may still be wondering, will Joe Biden pack the Supreme Court? Will Kamala Harris pack the Supreme Court? Is there a Supreme Court packing scheme coming up? What do they really think? And I will tell you the answer to that. Because in one respect, they're being honest. They're saying, we will give you our answer after the election. And in one respect, that's a very good answer because their opinion on packing the court will depend on the result of the election. If after this election, Joe Biden is president-elect, they will be absolutely, positively in favor of packing the court. Without a question, they will believe that packing the court is the best thing that could happen to the judicial system. They will believe that packing the court is the only fair way to deal with anything. Absolutely guarantee it. However, if Donald Trump wins the election, then it will be their considered opinion that packing the court is bad for the country, that packing the court will cause people to lose faith in the judicial system, that packing the court will harm America. And they will be against it. Or to put simply, if it's them packing the court, they will be in favor of it. If it's Republicans packing the court, they will be against it. That's the bottom line. Joe Biden is in favor of packing the court as long as Democrats get to do it. It's as simple as that. If it's Democrats packing the court, Biden's for it. If it's Republicans packing the court, Biden is firmly and completely against it. And that's the way it is. Let's not pretend it's anything else, because anyone who tells you it's anything else is lying. That's the reality. As long as the court is packed by Democrats, and as long as liberal groups can be satisfied by court packing will be great. But if Republicans are packing the court, if Donald Trump is packing the court, if the GOP is packing the court, if it means 3 more Republican-leaning justices, then packing the court is evil. Packing the court is wrong. Packing the court is the worst idea that anyone has ever had. So that's why they don't answer, because they will not know their opinion on packing the court until they know if they're going to be elected. Once they know, then they'll know their opinion. Their opinion will be, and to put it simply again, their opinion is that packing the court is evil if it's done by Republicans. Packing the court is constitutional and wonderful if done by Democrats. And that's the answer. That's the direct answer, and that's always been the direct answer. Now, I gotta laugh a little bit more when I see Nancy Pelosi talking about the 25th Amendment. And it's been said that a lot of this is about replacing Joe Biden after he gets elected, or if he gets elected. But what I think this is really about is panic. They have used every single tactic to go after Donald Trump. And this is, again, another attempt to go after. Let's not pretend that it's something that it's not about going after President Trump. They need to demonstrate to the base that has been told, Joe Biden is not going to end fracking. Joe Biden's not for fracking. Joe Biden's not for, the base that has been told had been insured by the Bernie Sanders of the world that they really are going to control Joe Biden. That's to make sure the base knows. That's the give, to make sure the base knows we're still for you. Don't worry about what we say. And this, again, reminds me of Obama on gay marriage. One of the reasons why gay marriage didn't hurt Obama as much as it did, well, there were two reasons why it didn't. The first was that the quote-unquote black church had decided they had a different Messiah. Given the choice between Obama and Christ, they chose Obama because they were afraid of their congregations. And again, remember, the difference between a Protestant denomination and a Catholic denomination is a Protestant denomination, you're generally paid by the congregation, not by, and this varies from congregation to congregation, but a Catholic congregation, you're paid by the diocese. Now, sometimes you'll see a priest who upsets certain donors replaced. I've actually seen that happen, and it's disgraceful. But there's a very big difference there. But the other thing was, ultra-liberals knew he was lying. They knew it was bullshit. They knew, because their own people understood that this was a lie that was being sold. They didn't have a problem with it. As long as it was clearly understood, yes, this is a lie. We are selling a lie here. They were fine. The ultra-left need to make sure that this is a lie, that what's going on is that Biden is going to do what he's told. And he will pretty much do what he's told. And I will admit this, Biden is probably going to, if he got elected, and again, I don't think for a second he's going to get elected. Biden's an old-fashioned guy, and he knows a little bit about power. And during the Rush Limbaugh thing today, they played that clip again of Biden shaking down the Ukraine guy. And that was fairly nasty, but it was an application of power. This was Joe Biden demonstrating, I have power and I'm not afraid to use it. Biden's not afraid of using power. And I don't know that Jill Biden is going to be all that excited to let Camilla push her away. So if Biden won, the only thing that would be cool about a Biden victory is it would be very interesting to see how the left deals, how Biden decides to deal with these guys. Because Biden is not above, Biden will push hard if he thinks it's in his interest. So it would be interesting, but he's not going to win. And again, we've seen the polls say that Biden's up this, Biden's up that. And again, I keep repeating this, and some people may think it's not that big a deal. But I'm going to stress it again. I've been offering, and I've been doing it more often, offering bet. And nobody wants to put money up. Nobody is willing to put money up to back up Biden. They're just not. And I keep offering this, and people decline. Now, frankly, as I said last week, if I was the Biden campaign, I'd pay someone to make sure this is done, because for a few $100s, you don't want people to be able to say that we're scared. Problem is, of course, if hundreds of people do this, then suddenly it gets into real money. But the left is not acting like Joe Biden is winning. If Joe Biden is winning, you don't have to protect him. If Joe Biden is winning, you don't have to use these tactics. If Joe Biden is winning, you don't have to steal big. Now, in fairness to the left, last time they actually thought Hillary Clinton was winning, and they didn't try and steal big, and they lost. And part of that was because they didn't try and steal big. So maybe it's very possible that the left has decided, you know what, we're not going to take a chance this time. Last time we thought we had it in the bag and we blew it. So we're not going to take a chance. But you look at the states, you look at what's happening. I mean, look at again, we have riots and people being hit in Wisconsin. And they know who's protecting these guys. The people know that the folks who are letting these riots go are dangerous. And in the end, they just can't. They're not going to vote that way. People do not want to be intimidated. People just don't. And if they can vote in the privacy of their voting booth against people who are threatening them, they're going to do it. I think the Trump victory is going to be bigger than people think. I really do. There's a little bit of fear in the sense that people are very good at forgetting. People will ignore facts that are inconvenient on occasion. And I'm sure that the Democrat left is counting on a lot of people forgetting about the riots. A lot of people now that they've mostly calmed down, they're counting on people letting things go. And they need that people letting things go, because if they don't have it, there's going to be big trouble. Big trouble indeed. But in the end, I think Trump has this. And I think the only question will be the coattails. And I think the Democrats know it. And I think as we get closer and closer, today is October 9th. We are 21, 22, let's see, 23, 24. I think we're 26 days away from the election. I think when it comes, it's going to come big. I think you're going to see the panic be huge. I think you're going to see some of the reactions are going to just, the degree of weirdness you will see before the election is going to be something. But I think after the election, you're going to have one short violent burst. And then it's going to go away. Because once Trump wins this election, and the Durham report goes forward, then the Antifa people understand that they will be prosecuted. And this is one of the things. This is one of the things that I think are huge. And this is one of the, I think this is one of the few things that give Biden a chance, is that, and I'm trying to think of how you put this. I think enough people who are connected have enough to lose that they're willing to pull out all the stops. And I believe that desperate people are dangerous. And I think the left is going to be desperate about this. And that's the only chance that Biden has. And I think that's huge. I think that's very, very, very huge. I don't think it's huge enough to win, because they have to cheat in a lot of different states, and because they're fighting against Donald Trump, who has absolutely no qualms about fighting back. And this is the really thing. When you're dealing with bullies, when you're dealing with people like the left, you have to fight back. You have to get in their face. You have to be willing to take the hit. Because as it's been suggested, it's easier to suppress other people than it is to come forward. And I think it's going to blow up. I think we're going to see a lot of people doing their best to scare people into voting the quote unquote right way. And I think some of it's going to get violent. I think some of it's going to get very violent. And I'm hoping that stopping it is not going to mean a lot of casualties. Because as I said before, the left, the primary goal of the left before the election has been to produce a body that can be blamed on Trump. That's really what it comes down to. That's what it's come down to. And if you had the story, I don't know if you saw the story of the transgender person who was embedded himself with Antifa and the Black Box people. And they're basically trying to get people to overreact so they can say, oh, look at this. Of course, it'd be much more effective if the media was not completely in the tank already. Because the media, and now that it's so close to the election, I'll say it again. If the media had treated Donald Trump like a normal presidential candidate, they'd have a shot at winning this election. Not a good shot, but they'd have a shot. But because they played the wolves, cried wolf so many times, they destroyed their credibility. You got a bunch of people who destroyed their credibility. And it's going to be nasty. Now, I want to bring up a few things before. Again, we've been about a half hour, and you'll have to tell me if you think I'm a little slow today, because I know I am. I know that I'm not. I know that I'm not anywhere near 100%. So I want to bring up a couple of. I'm going to do some fast topics. Fast topic 1: the oh my god, my Twitter account was hacked business by the debate, by the moderator of the second debate from C-SPAN, who used to work, for Biden and so forth. It's like, how do you get these things? Well, I gotta tell you, the Steve Scully thing, the high point in my blogging career, the high point was the Anthony Weiner business. I wrote a piece about the Weiner thing for the blog a while back. It was called, Hey, Mainstream Media, any old Twitterer understands what Representative Weiner's numbers mean. And I followed that up when I wrote that piece, and it basically explained that the reason why somebody hacked Anthony Weiner's thing didn't work out was because people understood that the difference between a direct message and a public message is one character. So and that became a New York Post article. The New York Post approached me at the time, and my only op-ed in a national newspaper or magazine was in the New York Post when I wrote about Weiner. And my only television appearance on Fox, granted it was the local Fox affiliate, came after that. A piece appeared in the New York Post. I brought cannolis. Yes, I did bring cannolis. And so when I see, he had this exchange with Scamooch, and thus suddenly, a day later, oh my God, I've been hacked. Please. Now, is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. But I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. And, if you're going to be biased against Trump, just be open about it. I don't. One of the reasons why I was one of the few people who was not as bigly outraged over Chris Wallace as many others. And one of the reasons why I wasn't so outraged was because I didn't expect better from Chris Wallace. And Wallace did hit Biden a couple of times. Didn't hit him very hard. Didn't hit him very often, but he hit him a couple of times. And I thought, that's all I can hope for these guys. And yes, I'm feeling a little tired. You can see I have to reposition myself here. Wallace, I don't expect the left to treat Trump or any Republican fairly. So my only hope is that they at least try to make a Democrat answer a question. So I don't think the Scully thing is going to matter. Plus, that debate will probably not happen. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Also, the race in North Carolina. I got to say, it's bad enough you have the Democrats candidate with a sexting scandal. Speaking of Anthony Weiner. But apparently you have a Democrat candidate whose mistress is upset because apparently he was cheating not only on his wife, but he was cheating on his mistress. He's one popular guy. And this was a seat that Democrats were really counting on getting. Now, of course, this is 2020 and not 2000 or 1980. So who knows? Maybe he'll get votes out of this. But I think that election is collapsing. And I think it's going to be amazing to see. I think that's falling apart for the left. I really think it is. The Michelle Obama tape. And this is a question I've asked before, and I'm going to ask it again. Michelle Obama talking about racism in America and the support of Donald Trump. And what I want to know is Donald Trump was very, very popular with a lot of these people until about 2012. And Donald Trump is 74 years old. So for 66 years, Donald Trump wasn't considered a racist, wasn't considered a sexist, wasn't considered a Nazi. All these Hollywood types, all these media types constantly appeared with him and gave him awards. He got awards from racial organizations. And suddenly, over 8 years, he suddenly magically became a Nazi. And just like that, Michelle Obama, in 8 short years after reelecting her husband, America's become systematically racist. The same race people who she considers racist are the ones who voted in her husband. Does anyone see a problem with this? And this amazes me that people put up with this. It amazes me that people don't ask that question, but they don't. It's stunning. The NBA ratings are way down, of course. We have talk that the NBA is going to start dropping their Black Lives Matter on the court because next year fans are expected to come in and they basically are not going to want to deal with fans who don't want to put up with this. And I think other sports leagues that followed suit are going to have to do the same. The sports are going to have to take the time to win people back. It will be interesting to see how quickly things move after the election. And there's one other thing I want to point out here. Remember when Donald Trump appeared on The Tonight Show and Jimmy Fallon was excoriated for having him on? That's really what the left has done. Fallon had obviously not gotten the memo that Donald Trump was now persona non grata everywhere. And if you associate with Trump, you are blacklisted at the time. Now he functions with that. But it will be interesting to see after the election how many of these people still do these things. How many of these people still try and play you associated with Trump, you're now a non-person. You might notice in the news that Cuties has been indicted by a Texas court over the child pornography within it. And it will be very interesting to see how that ends up playing out. I suspect there will be attempts to kill the suit. I don't know how it's going to go, but it should be fun. It'll be fun watching the left defend child pornography. In addition to the Cutie suit we're seeing the president fight back. We've mentioned the lawsuit in Philadelphia last week. against them trying to keep poll watchers away. I think the suits that we're seeing against colleges for these various race-based things are going to get very, very interesting. We've already seen, speaking of suits, in Virginia, we've seen the governor back away from some of his restrictions on on church services because of a lawsuit that was moving forward. And the best way to beat these guys is to just keep go in the courts, fight them using the weapons that they put in place. That's the best way to beat them, is keep fighting them. And it's very, very, very astounding that these people did not see this stuff coming. But what I think is more astounding, though, is that people didn't think of fighting back beforehand. The fighting back beforehand is going to be interesting. Now, the other question I mentioned, I mentioned this obliquely, is I wonder if there's going to be a backlash against those who were blacklisting people over supporting Trump. I think that's going to come. And I think that once people realize that it's the customer, the viewer, the average person that provides them with their salary, I think that's going to be the difference in the long run. Well, we've only been on for 35 minutes or so, 37 minutes, I think exactly, or something, or 40 minutes counting the pre-show. But I must admit, I don't think I have anything left in me. So we're going to end early today. I do apologize for that, but I just don't have anything more in me. Unless somebody has something they want to mention. I should bring up something. There's one topic I missed, and that's the Portland mayor's race. The challenger. What's interesting about the Portland mayor's race has got to be one of the most interesting races in the country. Because you have Mayor Ted Wheeler, who has enabled Antifa and does not deserve re-election because of it. But you have an opponent who thinks he's been too hard on them. Sarah Inaroni, who, though she has the same nice combination of vowels as many Italian friends of mine, this woman makes Wheeler look like a Trump Republican. And I can't see. I mean, she's got the lead at the moment. During a debate, they asked, "Are you Antifa?" And her answer was, I love that Biden answered this question before me. Being opposed to fascism in 2020 is not something to be embarrassed about. So I think it's very, very funny that they are going to end up electing a communist. And it's going to get worse. It's going to get much, much worse in Portland. And I thank God every day that we didn't move there. We were going to move there. My wife's family is from that area. We were going to move there to Portland when we first got married. And I am so happy that it didn't happen. Well, that's all I got in me. I want to thank you for showing up. Again, I'm sorry about the truncated version. I'm sorry I've been a little slower than normal. I'm sorry I'm lying down. I just don't have it in me today. But I will be back next week, and hopefully I will be back to normal. And we'll have lots more to talk about. It's certainly not going to be a boring week. So those of you who showed up, take care. My best to you. And thanks for putting up with a sick old man. Take care.